Tourism Pathshala, it will transform your dream into reality.
Good afternoon, my dear students. Today we are going to learn the important topic of UGC NEET Tourism Part Section 9, Research and Statistics, important area of the analysis tool. Today, the important topic we will learn the factor analysis. In my previous video, in my previous class, I have discussed the discriminant analysis, conjoint analysis. Today, we will learn the factor analysis, the very important topic. Each and every year, we provide the question from this area. This question is based on January 2025. The question is, arrange the following steps in a correct sequence that should perform X, the factor analysis. They have given the steps: determine the number of factors, number 2B, construct the correlation matrix, third, rotate the factor, D, determine the method of factor analysis, E, calculate the factor analysis. What is the sequence? The correct sequence is B, first, construct correlation matrix. Why? This is the first step. Factor analysis based on the relationship between the variables. This is a very important point we have to remember. The factor analysis is the based on relationship between the variables. We begin by computing the correlation matrix to see how variables are related or not. This is the first step. The Y correlation matrix measures the strength of relationship between the variable. Value range from -1 to +1 and symmetric matrix. This is a step 1, construct correlation matrix. The step 2, determine the method of factor analysis. Under this section, choose the extraction method. In this method, based on PCA, principal component analysis. Number 2, common factor analysis, CFA. Maximum likelihood, MLA, PFA, principal axis factoring. These are the common method that determine the method of factor analysis. This is a step 2. Step 1, construct correlation matrix. Step 2, determine the method of factor analysis. Step 3, determine the number of factors. After extraction, decide how many factors to retain. Under this section, eigenvalue should be greater than or equal to 1 rule. Kisher's criteria and scree plot look for elbow point. The tool to decide factor, determine the number of factor. Important tools are eigenvalue, scree plot, parallel analysis, cumulative percentage variance. These are the important tools decide the factor. Next, step 4, rotate the factor. The rotation improves the interpretability of factor. Under this section, the rotation types are, you have to remember, orthogonal rotation, uncorrelated, varimax, and oblique correlated, promax. These kinds of rotation factors, rotation type. And step 5, calculate the factor score. Under this section is the final step, the regression analysis, the cluster analysis, predictive modeling, data reduction. These are the important factor score. Use this step, the calculated the factor analysis. So my dear student, we have to remember the 5 steps of factor analysis tool. Number 1, construct correlation matrix. Number 2, determine method. Number 3, determine number of factors. Number C, rotate the factor. Number 4 and number 5, calculate the factor score. This is the question based on January 2025. The next, the December 2019, UGC also provide the question from factor analysis. This question is, in factor analysis, which of the following tests the hypothesis where the population correlation matrix is an identity matrix or not. So they have given the four options: Bartlett test, KMO test, factor matrix, discriminant loading. The correct option, Bartlett test. Why? The detailed analysis, detailed explanation in factor analysis, what we have to understand what is hypothesis. In factor analysis, before extracting the factor, we must check whether variables are sufficient correlated or not. That's why when we have decided to hypothesis testing, first of all we have to set null hypothesis, consider H0. Here null hypothesis is the population correlation matrix is an identity matrix. That is, variables are uncorrelated. In the case of alternative hypothesis, the reverse population correlation matrix is an identity matrix. The variables are uncorrelated. It's not identity matrix. So these are the alternative hypothesis. So Bartlett test of sphericity, the specifically test whether the correlation matrix is an identity matrix. The p-value should be less than 0.05. We reject null hypothesis. The factor is appropriate. So Bartlett test directly answer the question of the hypothesis where the population correlation matrix is an identity matrix or not. But another option, KMO test, Fisher-Mayer-Olking test measure the sampling adequacy, indicate where data is suitable for factor analysis or not. Does not identity matrix analysis. Factor matrix shows the factor loading used for factor extraction, not hypothesis test. Number 4, discriminant loading use the discriminant analysis, not factor analysis. The final conclusion is the Bartlett test used to test reduced whether population matrix is an identity matrix. Therefore, the correct option, the Bartlett test. Bartlett test used to reduce whether population matrix is identity. So, under this question, the Bartlett test is the directly related of hypothesis testing of factor analysis. The next question. The June 2020 also UGC provide the question of the factor analysis. They have given the following step. The question is the following steps are involved in factor analysis exercise. We have to correct the sequences. Number 1, A, construct of correlation matrix. B, this is the first step to examine the relationship among the variable. C, correlation matrix shows how variables are interrelated. D, initial correlation for factor analysis must be collected first. E, factor rotation. The step-by-step explanation, the first step, the construction of correlation matrix is the first step to examine the relationship among the variables. Correlation matrix shows how variables are interrelated. Because why it is first? Because factor extraction is based on correlation. Second step, selection of number of factor. The selection of number of factor, we use different method, eigenvalues, Cree plot, variance explained. Already I have discussed the first question. D, factor rotation. Under this section, the rotation types are orthogonal rotation or oblique. Why it is third? Because we must decide how many latent, hidden factors exist before interpreting them. And C, interpretation of rotated factor solution. After rotation, we interpret the factor, identify which variable load highly on each factor. Each factor is given meaningful name. And finally, E, checking model fit. So, final step, evaluate the correction, choose, rotate, comment and check. So, these are the important steps of the factor analysis. The next question or next area, not question here, factor analysis is the detailed understanding. The factor analysis is a statistical technique. Whatever I have discussed in previous question, in brief, we have to understand factor analysis is a statistical technique used to reduce large number of variables into smaller number of underlying factor in order to simplify model simplify model. Example, that is a grouping factor help to identify hidden pattern factors behind observed data. For example, study hours, attendance, measures the student performance, sleep, stress, health may important hidden factor. Stress, sleep are the important hidden factor of the health. What are the purpose of factor analysis? To reduce data complexity, to identify hidden pattern, group similar variables, to identify the group similar variables, to help decision making and research. The type of factor analysis, exploratory factor analysis, used when structure is unknown, KMO test, Bartlett test. These are the exploratory factor analysis. Extraction factor, principal component method used. Determine number of factor, in that case eigenvalue, scree plot as used. Rotate factors, under this section varimax, most common type. Interpret factor and name the factor. What are the advantages and limitations of factor analysis? And advantages of factor analysis is reduce complex data into simple form, help to identify hidden pattern, used in marketing, psychology and finance. What are the limitation of factor analysis? Require large sample size. Interpretation can be subjective, that is a high risk here, and result depends on method used. So these are the important topic of the factor analysis. This factor and discriminant analysis, my dear student, under the section the factor analysis, discriminant analysis, conjoint analysis and factor analysis is very important. Regression analysis is a very important analysis tool and technique of the research. So UGC provide question each and every year from this section. That's why I try to discuss in detail through my series of lecture. Thank you. Keep touch. If you take anyone to take the private guidance, you may contact with me through my WhatsApp number. Thank you.